a big crypto week ahead for us following a massive sell-off which took place over the course of Friday and the weekend. But on today's show, I'm going to give you compelling evidence for why we may first see a bit of a bounce and where that bounce likely gets faded and what to expect for the rest of the week going forward. So let's get started with the show. Looking over here at this tweet from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you can see it is a huge week from an economic calendar standpoint. On Monday, we have, which is today, of course, the deadline for Binance and Binance US to respond to the SEC's application for a temporary restraining order against them. On Tuesday, we have a motion for temporary Binance US restraining order hearing. So that's going to be the hearing for Binance. Then we have the Hinman documents released for 𝗟𝗏𝗏. I know a lot of people are anticipating that the SEC is going to lose their case against 𝗟𝗏𝗏 and think that the market is going to pump because of that. Hopefully, we can have a look at one of those charts. And then we have the CPI data release as well on Tuesday, which is going to dictate what will happen at the next interest rate hike, which is coming up on Wednesday. Wednesday is the US rate decision and the FOMC statement, which will give us forward guidance of what to expect going forward. We also get an update on the dot plot graph, which will ultimately show where the Fed funds rate likely goes in the future. And that ultimately dictates whether the market's going to be expansion or contraction moving forward. On Thursday, we have the ECB rate decision, jobless claims, and retail sales. And then Friday is Eurozone CPI, Michigan consumer sentiment, Michigan inflation expectations. Now, I'm going to save you a whole lot of time and quickly summarize everything for you. What does this mean as a trader? Well, if you're trading the very low time frames, it's an opportunity for you. Of course, there's going to be a lot of volatility, so you can milk the range for everything it's got to give. Buying the range low, selling the range high, short selling from the top of the range high all the way back down to the range low, and taking most of your profits around those mid-range levels. I'll give you those range levels on the low time frame chart, the hourly, when we get there. High time frame, what does this mean if you're an investor? Probably means it's best to stay out unless we hit a very high confluent standpoint whereby crypto likely bounces, and I'll also give you that level. So for the most part, high time frame guys, investors, probably just sit out of the market. Low time frame traders, you're going to have a lot of volatility in play. So mark off your economic calendar over here. Go through to this calendar, which is on cryptocraft.com, and mark those levels off. You'll see when that news comes out. Now, a tweet over here from 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the effects of Operation Chokepoint 2.0. We know this has been a big thing, and this is absolutely suffocated the market of liquidity. So what does that mean? It means that DEX volumes relative to centralized exchanges are now at an all-time high. Tether, though, is also at an all-time high, and USDC is down 50%. Offshore volumes have now gone to near all-time highs at 86%. Bitcoin is leaving the US. Basically, they're moving those coins elsewhere. And then in the end, capital and activity will just move offshore and on-chain, ultimately giving the US government less oversight. So the crypto market definitely desperate for some sort of regulatory guidance, and then they can make a decision with all these massive crypto firms of what to do next. Now, there is something important that I want to mention about Tether. Let's just go through this tweet here. He says, Tether in circulation just reached an all-time high of 83.35 billion. The divergence from USDC is striking, reflecting easier access to the treasuries for US-based USDC holders and regulatory uncertainty for the US-based circle. What was once a competitive advantage for USDC is now the opposite. Now, with regards to Tether increasing in dominance, the only concern that I have around this operation, Chokepoint 2.0, is that this creates an easier point of failure. Right now, we have less points of failure. We have pretty much Bitcoin, because most of the flow of money is moving into Bitcoin and Tether. That means now you only have two areas that the US government have to target to really bring down crypto. So this is not, to me, necessarily a good sign. I would prefer to see crypto diversified through multiple different stable coins, RAI, DAI, USDC, BUSD, Tether. I'd rather see an assortment of different stable coins as opposed to just one, which is one point of failure. Now, basically, they can just attack Tether and then all the money goes into Bitcoin. But if they attack Bitcoin and Tether, where does the money go? What do you do? What do you do next? So that is basically one of the problems. And at the moment, you can see that the way that overseas investors are also flocking to in Turkey with their Turkish lira, which is absolutely crashing into nothing. People in Turkey rushing to move into Tether as a haven against the collapsing local currency. So I think diversification is better for the market. Interesting tweet as well over here from Crypto Rover. Binance is getting sued. Coinbase is getting sued. But FTX is relaunching at the end of this year. And there's Miles. He says, don't tell me. So it's absolutely crazy what goes on within these markets. And you do need to be careful. Now, let's look at traditional markets and the impact that this may have on crypto. You can see the S&P 500 futures is now peaked through the very, very top of the liquidity zone. It tagged that liquidity. It came through the range high. This is the range high area that we have over here. And ultimately, what I would be looking for in the short term is a little bit of a pullback from that level. So watch this zone very carefully because you might see a deviation back into this range. Now, I want to be very careful with what I say here. I'm not calling for a major meltdown in the stock market. I'm just calling for a deviation back into the range, which likely results in the next higher low and then reaccumulation higher. But as you would know, when it comes to the stock market, any move within the stock market usually results in a greater move for Bitcoin. So if the S&P 500 were to pull back 3 to 4%, that would be quite a massive move and add a lot of pressure onto Bitcoin. Bitcoin has not been coupled to the stock market as of late, but if you take history and the way that it had been previously, you would expect that would result in a bit of a pullback. If you do want to trade, by the way, the stock market, the S&P 500, futures, stocks, other commodities, then feel free to check out Prime XBT. There is a sign-up bonus of up to $7,000 on your first deposit. You need to click on the link in the description below, type in the promo code when you do sign up, and you're free to trade there. All right. Next, we have the dollar over here. The dollar is still holding that key level. The key level, zooming in, is what was my first target, target one, when we basically went long off of this liquidity level at 100.8. And that level is coming in at 103.43. Again, I still want to see price close multiple times underneath that level to confirm that this is in fact a lower high. And it creates an interesting environment for crypto, because if this is going to be a lower high on the DXY, the DXY, the dollar index, and that comes down and crypto comes into that very key level of support, I'm going to give you those exact levels soon. We're very, very close to tagging those important zones on Bitcoin. Then you can expect that there will be a higher probability when you coincide and time these two together, right? The lower high over here on the DXY should coincide with the higher low on the daily time frame for Bitcoin. And I'll go over those levels in a moment. So here's the decorrelation, which is currently still in play between the stock market. You got the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, that's in the blue and the yellow at the top here. And then you got Bitcoin continuing to trend towards the downside, which is very out of character. So is this an opportunity? The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? That's the saying. And ultimately, you would expect that this would converge back towards each other at some point in the near future. But high time frame, very, very high time frame. I posted this chart without any comment on Twitter, and it was very interesting to read the responses. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you see within this chart? Is this a bearish or a bullish chart? What do you see? This is Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. Bearish or bullish. And then while you're at it, also smash the like button. It does help to get the show content out there. I think my previous show is shadow banned. Definitely didn't get all the guys into the party, but I'll recover what I put on the last show on Friday as well, just to bring you up to date with the cup and handle on Bitcoin. So let me know in the comments, bullish or bearish, what do you see with regards to this chart? Now, what I can tell you over here is this is a monthly chart. And if we start to close this monthly candle below the previous monthly close, you could potentially find yourself in a bit of trouble. Now, there's really one of two things that are taking place over here. So you can see the yellow long-term diagonal trend line, which is tracking on up. Then you have very key levels, right? The key levels being 28,992. These levels were drawn long before price even came into the zone. And the next level that I had was 35,000. Now, I was looking to fade this rally into the zone over here, expecting that this is a relief rally and it's going to start to reject from that zone. So that's why I sold all my Bitcoin at $28,500. It started to show weakness around that area, and I started to look for it to come down. I didn't know at the time if we're going to push up a little bit higher and get to that 35K zone. And I'll show you what this all means in just a second's time. Now, the lower side was not tagged. If you zoom in and you look over here, 13,880 was not tagged. That was the yearly open on this candle over here. January open straight towards the upside, massive rally. And now we have this candle, right? As I've just said, if this candle closes below the wick of the prior month's candle, you can expect this is probably going to have continuation to the downside. So one of two things are going on over here. So the first thing is that you do have, remember, the range, right? You had, if you look at that over there, this was the prior range. So is it the case where it's going to be a retest into the range high, the top of the pink box, and continuation up? That's option one. Or it's going to deviate all the way back into the range, and this would be a deviation into the top side, and then you have a deviation back into the bottom side. Now the question is, where does Bitcoin stop next? Is it going to stop in the mid-range around that $22,000 level, or is it going to go full circle all the way back down and tag that 13,880 zone as well as the long-term diagonal? Now, that's the interesting part, right, guys? You have to be open to any scenario. That is what being a critical thinker is within trading. And you have to be a critical thinker if you want to make money in the long term. So I'm open to the possibility of something like this happening. And I have been for a long time. I told you guys, be very, very careful. This entire move up here, although I was bullish throughout that move, I said I'm treating this as a relief rally until proven otherwise, and not the start of a bull market. At some point, we're going to get a strong pullback. When that pullback takes place, which is currently happening right now, we need to see, is there going to be a higher low? So is there going to be a higher low over there, or is it going to come all the way back down? Once we get this next part, the second part, we'll be able to make a determination of whether it is the start of a bull market or just a relief rally. So keep that in the back of your mind's eye. I'm not going to bring it up every single time. I'll bring it up probably much later on in the month, but keep that in your mind's eye. So I'm even going to close that tab now. Okay, Bitcoin over here on the weekly chart, we are holding above the 21 exponential moving average, but if I'm not mistaken, we have closed, let's quickly put this back on, we've closed below the 200, right? So there's the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame. We've now closed below that. It's not necessarily the end of the world if we start to recapture it very, very soon. So in the next couple of weeks, if we reclaim that level, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If we hold multiple weeks underneath this level, then you can expect that it could lead into a major capitulation. And then look at that. We had a big deviation over here. You typically don't want to spend that amount of time once again under that zone. So I mostly use the EMAs because they're quicker moving. It gives me a better indication of what's going on. So I have the 21 and the 200. We still have this X marks the spot zone over here. I've just moved it slightly up into this week. I said if you see price action tag into that level, it creates a buying opportunity so long as price action closes back above the 21 exponential. Now, historically, in any of the bull markets that we've had, if it was in fact a bull market, you'd want to see price hold the 21 EMA, and it needs to be angled upwards, not downwards. So last week, we still closed above, right? There it is. There's the close, narrowly closed above. Right now, we're holding at that exact level. So it's an interesting zone to watch. Keep an eye out on that level in the coming weeks. Then we have the 9 and the 18 EMA, which is going to be on the Gaussian channel over here. You can see price has closed below both of them. If it continues to do so, you would expect that these moving averages are going to start to take a bearish cross, and that's going to add additional resistance. You have the middle of the Gaussian channel, which is also support. But once you cap underneath that and you hold underneath that and those EMAs cross, then it opens up the possibility that you could have a massive sell-off. So there is still a lot of levels to clear over here. At the moment, I had this section set at 30,364 as your breakout zone. I would say now you could probably start to lower that. It's going to come in around here at about 28,000. Bitcoin on a high time frame now needs to get back above 28,000, and then you're going to contend with a falling top side of the Gaussian channel. When you start to push into that zone again, you'll probably break above, and then you need to clear as well the 𝗓𝗏𝗧. So that's for the long-term investors. Next, Bitcoin on the 4-day chart. Let's just quickly turn off the price action over here. So bear in mind, price is in this zone. Let's quickly, I'll make a line for you over there. There is where price is right now. And let's turn off the candles. So you can see if you're simply just using the EMAs, this is on the 4-day time frame. This is according to Consensio, which is a trading system developed by a guy named 𝗕𝗆𝗫𝗃. He was a legend in the space, and he sadly passed away from a heart attack. I think it was in 2018. But a lot of what I know, I learned from him. Okay, what you see over here is, according to Consensio, you would be out of your positions because price is now capped below the short, the medium, and the long-term moving average. And again, you need to get back above this zone, clear those moving averages, and hold above there in order for it to be safe. So according to Consensio, it will be calling for a breakdown, and this is your next major level of support. 23,900. Keep that number in mind, right? 23,900. That is based off of the ultimate lows to the next higher low based on the wick basis into the next high low. Let's see if I put price action back on. So you're coming into that zone. That also happens to be the 618 golden ratio on the fib retracement tool. I'll show you that on the low time frames as well. Very, very important. Now, if that level manages to somehow hold, then this cup and handle scenario could still be in play. This is what I covered on Friday's show, of which I know most of you weren't there because that show was shadow banned. You have the cup, you have it into a falling wedge, which happens to be the handle. If you work out the measured move based off of that and those levels manage to hold, then you're looking at your target 1 is going to be at 35,290, and your target 2 could be as high as $45,000. So again, I have to emphasize and be clear, you don't just blindly go in with your entire net worth over there. It's if that level does hold and there's signs of strength and bulls decide to defend that zone, then this is still something that is in play, and it could be a potential target to keep an eye out on in the future. When you look at the total market cap, we have had some key levels lost as well. We started to break down. So we were holding this diagonal beautifully. And if this is any indication of what Bitcoin may do, Bitcoin, we're looking at bouncing off of the second or the third higher low over here. As you can see, total did not manage to do that. It broke down its diagonal trend line, and it's now reverting back towards the middle of the range, which is coming in at 960,000. I will also make my positions clear to you guys at the end of the show, because I know I tell you a lot of stuff over here. I give you the bullish case, the bearish case, and then it's ultimately up to you. I will disclose where I am at within my positions at the end of the show. All right. Total 2, which excludes Bitcoin. So this is Ethereum and the rest of the altcoin market. You can see broken below the mid-range over here, lost a diagonal, and ultimately this is now, if it doesn't bounce over here, you're going to lose your next high low. So far, I'd be treating it more as a range as opposed to a trend. If you're treating it as a trend, this would be high low, and you want this to be your next high low. I think that it's wishful thinking to think that this is going to hold as a trend. I think it's better to treat it as a range. If you see a little bit of a bounce up over here, probably going to be a shorting opportunity back down into the bottom of the range. And we have hints and clues based on what the rest of the altcoin market are already doing, right? The rest of the altcoin market has already started to sell off aggressively, creating new lows. And here is total 3, which is a representation of that. So the ultimate target, I want to remind you, based on history, right? On the previous 85 to 90% drawdown of the altcoin market, you would then technically be looking at total 3 to come in over here at about 179 billion. Now that the SEC has really lit a fire under the altcoin markets, but it is a possibility that you start to see those prices. So before, we were very unclear as to what was going on. And this is why I said on my show for months now, don't touch altcoins. Just stay out of altcoins because we don't have clarity as to what's going on. Why did I say that? Well, because we were in a falling parallel channel, right, coming towards the downside, which was calling for a potential target at 234. We were also holding over here a parallel channel, or excuse me, a horizontal channel over here. So completely equal like that, coming into those lows now. And then we also potentially had the high low after high low. And that's why I put a big question mark over here. And I said, don't go long on any of these altcoins until you get into this box and you start to close around that 410 billion region, because there's too many patterns in play here and there's not enough guidance or clear signals as to what's going on with the total 3 market cap. And consequently, you can see what the result of that is. This is why sometimes it pays to stay out of the market if you don't have clarity as to what's happening. Rather just sit on the sidelines. That's what I did. And look at that nuke. It nuked all the way through. Now the question is it holding the parallel channel towards the downside? So is it holding this move over here? Let's quickly draw that back in. Is it holding that? Or is it holding the horizontal channel over here? If so, you expect it to bounce within this zone. I tend to think it's probably going to continue to bleed into this low level, and this is probably my base case. My secondary case is that we're going to start to bounce from this zone over here. So I know that that might hurt for a lot of people to hear that. I definitely don't wish for anybody to lose any money. I'm just saying it as I see it within the market. I see this as weakness, right? I see it as a new swing low. You had your higher low. This is your next swing low. Therefore, any bounce that comes up into this area is going to be short-lived. It's massive underside resistance of the middle of the range, and I expect a rejection to ultimately lead down into this zone, which is what's creating a major depression phase within the altcoin market. Altcoins are already going through that depression phase. Okay, look over here at others. This is the others dominant, right? So we were looking at these diagonals potentially holding, and I told you as well for the whole of last week, do not blindly long this. The only way that we go long on other altcoins is if you see the price action follow like this, where it comes into the bottom at 8.52% and then bounce up and reclaim above that 9.58% would be your confirmation that it's okay to go long on some of the others for a short-term trade. That didn't happen. It went straight through. Now I've marked off 6.15%. That means that technically Bitcoin dominance should continue to go up and altcoins should go down. And we also called this pretty well as well. We said over here, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, massive, right? This is an inverted 𝗵𝗵𝗃 pattern, right? If you look at the head of 𝗵𝗵𝗃, it looks like this, right? You got his head. So imagine that's where his ear would be. There's where his eyes would be. And then which way would his smile go? This way, like that. There we go. So this would be his hairline. And now you're starting to get a breakout, right? So that usually leads to massive continuation. Now, I'm not calling for 65%, but I am calling for at least 55%. And the reason why I'm calling for 55% is this. Well, you were consolidating against the top side of a range, the range high, which is what I said. What happens when you consolidate against any support or resistance line? Usually that leads to a massive breakout. And that's exactly what happened. Look at that. Huge breakout, big move in pretty much one go. 2.35% of the altcoin market went into Bitcoin dominance and pushed price up. Now, if you work this out as a bull flag formation, which it is, what is a bull flag formation? Well, you have your pole, and then you consolidate, again, consolidating into resistance. Take the measured move based off of that pole. It leads you to a 54% Bitcoin dominance, which is in line with what we're seeing over here in the sense that altcoins may continue to bleed back down. So be very, very careful with regards to your trades. That also means, and I told you that last week, that Ethereum might break back down into its range. And we still have our little drawings over there, right? There's a little orange drawing, and there it went. There's the ETH BTC chart started to break back down into the zone. And some people may call this a break of the resistance trend line and a perfect retest of that zone for possible continuation upwards. There is a possibility that that would happen, but I think it's more unlikely, because of what I'm seeing within Total 3, as well as what I'm seeing within the Bitcoin dominance chart. I think it's more likely that this will slowly bleed back down towards the 0.25 of the range, which is near where the lows were set in March for the Bitcoin dominance. So expect that, the ETH BTC chart. So expect ETH BTC might come down to 0.062. That's the ratio. All right. And if you look at the SECurities coins, right? So this is a chart of what they call the commodities index. So these are the coins that are supposedly safe from the SEC and have not yet been labeled as securities. And then you have in blue the crypto securities index. Now you can see how massively hit those coins were, right? The Solanas, the Cardanos, forget which other ones were in that list, but there's a whole list of them. You can see how massively those coins have been hit. Those could potentially provide a buying opportunity at a later stage, but I wouldn't rush into those coins yet. So be careful of that, because these coins are currently going through, if you look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, capitulation, anger, depression. They're heading right towards depression. Now, depression usually leads price-wise to lower than what the ultimate low was, which was anger. Expect that those coins could potentially bleed out into that phase. And I'll show you over here what that chart looks like. So there we have it. That is the psychology of a Wall Street cheat sheet. Remember, capitulation, anger, depression, my retirement money is lost. How can we pay for all of this new stuff? I'm an idiot. I know some people may be feeling that way. This is normal. It's part of the market cycles. Now, this is also the part of the cycle where people start saying that this time is different and we're never going to recover. Basically, it's all over because now regulations after us and it's really the end. So I want to remind you the madness of crowds. There's a book called The Madness of Crowds. I'm actually going through it right now. And it says in The Madness of Crowds that this is what people say, right? People start to say that this time is different. Everything's over. It's wrecked. It's never going to recover. And usually that is an indication that you're heading into that deep depressive phase. And then it will start to recover. And then you go into right disbelief. This is a sucker's rally. So at least for the altcoin market, this is where the altcoin market is. It's debatable whether Bitcoin might be in the disbelief phase still. Bitcoin could still be going up. Okay, next. Let's look here at some of the altcoins. This is Bitcoin over here. Let's quickly go into ETH, see where that's at. ETH is still holding above the 200-day moving average. Now, I just want to remind you guys that last week we went through this. Okay, here is BNB. We outlined already. I think it was up here. Most probable it's going to head into the bottom of that range low. Let me know in the comments, do you want to go through some of these altcoins? Or is it going to take too long? Let me know in the comments. I'll wait a couple of seconds for the feed to come through. I'll go through a few of them while we're waiting. Okay, Litecoin. Here's Litecoin. Pretty bad because Litecoin now started to lose that diagonal trend line. It is also capped below the 200 moving average, which means that Litecoin could potentially head all the way back down to 40, and the halving cycle may not help it. GMX. I know 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗧 bought more GMX. If any of you saw that tweet doing the rounds, don't be fooled. That's actually the title of the show. Don't be fooled, right? Because 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗧 has millions and millions of dollars. He probably makes millions of dollars just through passive income, and he bought $100,000 of GMX. That's like somebody who makes $10,000 a month putting in $5 into GMX. So don't be fooled just because you see tweets like that of influencers or smart people buying. He's obviously going to be scaling into those positions. GMX, though, is heading into the bottom of the range low. I would not be surprised to see something like this on a lot of the coins, a sweep all the way through the lows, and then ultimately some sort of deviation back into the range. So Rocket Pool was also a hot narrative at one stage. Let's see, is this loading? This one's taking, okay, I don't have anything mapped out on that. Compound. Let's look at Compound. Look at that, guys. New lows, depression phase. Here we go. Based on a bounce off of this, you can't expect that it's just going to massively rapidly go all the way to new all-time highs. This is probably going to bleed out for a while. If you get a big push into here, it's probably going to reject off of the 200, and a lot of coins look like this, and slowly but surely it's going to get worse before it gets better. All right, let me know in the comments, what did you guys say? Do you want to see some of the coins? What did they say, Josh? Yeah. Okay, they want to see coins. Let's go. So here we have it. Look at that. Solana failed to hold. Happy birthday. Thanks, James. James is wishing me happy birthday. The only person here in the office. Can you believe it? But fair enough, it is only 9 in the morning. No one's arrived yet. Okay, long-term resistance, flipped support, question mark. That's what we said over here. Bounce back above. How there? Obviously, we know this is one of the coins that have been labeled as a security, and consequently, it nuked straight through, hit the bottom of the range low over here. I personally would just leave Solana. I wouldn't touch any of those coins for now. Be patient. Okay, Manifold also coming back towards the range lows. AVAX. Remember, I did a show last week, I think it was on Wednesday, guys, where I covered all of these coins over here, and I said, expect there is a possibility that you're going to sweep the range lows on most of them. So here you can see AVAX already swept those range lows. Let's see, bulls will be wanting to defend this wick that's been set in over here, and they'll be hoping for another deviation. But as I just mentioned, these are all short-term plays, right? You're looking for these bounces to go back into the 200-day moving average, which likely gets faded thereafter. Okay, what about Atom? Same thing. So Atom broken now into the next range. Ultimately, if it rejects above here, you're looking for a move down towards that $5 zone. Will that present an opportunity? It could possibly. We'll revisit that chart when we get there. Okay, Luxo also heading back down towards the range low, $4.47. I expect most of these coins, if they have not yet revisited their ultimate lows, they're probably going to get somewhere near that zone. ENS also already made new lows. Not bullish. It's not bullish. Coins making new lows is not a bullish sign, guys. Okay, Aptos, expect a visit of this range low, possibly a sweep below that $3.16. And then if it breaks back into the range, then great. Okay, Injective Protocol. This was considered to be one of the stronger ones. It's going to be full on distribution on this coin over here. I remember hearing people speak about this like it's going to do what Chainlink did in the bear market. It's going to be the bear market coin. Well, over here, it does not look like it. You now have a new swing low in relation to the left-hand side over here. Swing low, bounce up over here is likely going to be a rejection off of the trend line if it even gets that high. And then obviously you're going to continue on back down. Okay, back towards $4.29 is the first place before I get interested. Chainlink. Do you guys remember that I told you Chainlink would sweep this level? I told you that this whole area over here, these guys who have been holding for and buying that level up for over a year now are most likely going to be put underwater at some point, and that could create the opportunity to get in. Now, is that the moment right now? Well, based on how much time Chainlink is already spending here, I don't think that the sell-off is over. I think that there will probably be continuation further. And whenever that happens, if you see another major capitulation, it might come towards the mid-range of the prior range, which is going to be that $3.50 level. That could be the opportunity. I will update you when the time comes and then expect a bounce up. All right, let me quickly bring something up over here for you. So I just want to remind you, in the Discord group, there is over here the crypto watch list. Most of these coins have recently been updated. You can see updated 2 days ago. If you want to see those coins, it's all the charts that I'm giving you now. It is in the Discord over there. I'm going to move on and save time over here. Make sure to go through and check that out. And if you want to get into the Discord again, use any of the sign up links to the exchanges in the description below. That is your key to get into the private group. Okay, RENKO. RENKO, now I want to remind you of the time frame that I showed you earlier on, where I said, remember 23,900. RENKO is calling for 23,900 still. You can see full red candle. It's in a trending move towards the downside. This is the first level of interest before Bitcoin likely bounces. Okay, looking over here at Bitcoin as well, I have put on, let's just quickly make that bigger. There we go. If you look at the fib retracement level taken from the low that was set when USDC depegged at 19,000, to give you precise, 19,568. Take it from that low to the local top, which has recently been set. Where is your golden ratio, right? Your golden ratio is coming in over here, the 0.618 at exactly 23,954. Now, could it really be that simple? You have a high confluence zone, diagonal trend line coming in with a 618, which matches up with the rising 200-day moving average. That is a high confluence zone. I most definitely will be placing my bids within that level. I already have. So as I said to you, I will disclose my position. My position is still in cash, guys. This is where I'm looking to buy the dip. You'll remember I made a tweet. I think I said I bought at 25,000. Price bounced to 26.7 or something. I sold at 26.8. And now I'm looking to re-add that in again over here, 23,954. So between, let's just round it up, 24,000 is where I plan on making my next entry. And if it starts to lose that level, I will reevaluate. So keep an eye out on that. Keep that in the back of your mind. Bitcoin is still stuck. I'm going to clear this up because I don't want it to be too messy. Bitcoin is still stuck below the pivot level. The pivot level today is coming in at 26,147. Okay, what about for ETH? Now, ETH, you got the pivot level coming in right over here at 1797. Price is still holding below that. Same thing as Bitcoin. You're looking at your fib level from bottom to top. 618 comes in right over here at the 200 moving average. High confluence level matches up with a diagonal trend line as well. That is going to be the beautiful zone to catch. And if it holds, you still have your potential cup in handle in play. Potential, keyword potential. Okay, next. I outlined this on the daily candle newsletter. This is just the 4-hour time frame chart. Look at how every time we get near that 50 EMA on the 4-hour, we reject. I put this in the daily candle newsletter saying that I expected price to pull back into the zone, a bit of a bounce, and then I'm looking for that last continuation towards the downside later on in this week, and then we can start to move up from there. That is still my belief, and I think that's still a possibility. In the short term for today, Could there be a move up? Well, definitely, because liquidity is mostly stacked to the upside over here at about 26,200. Also, look over here at the cumulative delta levels on the bottom, the red. This is the level of shorts to longs. You can see everybody is still stacked short. So what does that mean? Most likely, these guys are going to get squeezed out of their position. Oftentimes, price will move up, take them out of their position. Literally, the second that they get taken out of their position, it goes back down the other way. And that's why I said, don't be fooled. If there is going to be a move up from here, I don't think that the selling is done. I think that we're going to have another leg down. I think that ultimately the soonest level that you should be looking at for a major reversal or a local bottom is going to be at that $24,000 or just below $24,000. Okay. Next, if you look over here, already big players are starting to move coins, right? So you got 63,430 BNB, which is over 14, it's almost $15 million transferred to Binance. So are they sending it there to leverage trade? I doubt it. Probably sending it to sell. Same thing, Kraken. Look at how much money this is. $140 million transferred from an unknown wallet to Kraken. So likely sending it there to sell. But short squeeze first. People going crazy with BNB shorts here. Do they know something, or are they hoping and praying that new FUD hits? I'm not touching it. I'm only observing. Very dark, obviously, for you to see this. But look at the open interest. Massive push up in the open interest over here. You got the aggregated CVD spot, which has been trending up. And then you got the futures, which has been shorting towards the downside. And liquidations, we have only had a bit of a liquidation. Now, I wanted to go over here. Let's bring it up. Let's look for BNB. See what it looks like on High Block Capital. Let's just see if it's in agreement or if they've already started to get flush. Huge. Look at that, guys. Massive shorts over here on BNB. Will they get paid? I don't know. I think that they'll get stopped out first. And then after that, the guys who don't get stopped out will probably get paid because BNB likely continues to the downside. So in the short term, whenever I bring up this High Block Capital, I'm talking about in the very short term. What am I looking at over the course of today, maybe tomorrow? Definitely think there's a possibility for a big spike up first. So these are the levels. This is ultimately the range. My range has been determined over here by LuxAlgo. LuxAlgo is one of our sponsors. I've been using this to make some great scalp trades the last couple of days. There is a link in the description below. You get 30% off if you do want to check them out. Now, where's that range? It's basically working out order block levels based on the top of the range over here. Order block level, it shows the percentage. 13% of the volume kicked in over there to send price down. Over here, you had 38% of the volume kicked in to send price up for a massive push. Came directly back into that zone. And now we've been messing around within this range. Okay. So what am I looking at? Well, ultimately, if I zoom in over here, you have equal highs, 1, 2. You have a liquidity buildup. All of these guys have been shorting the market down. Price bounced. They re-added to their shorts, came back down. And now we're grinding back up into this level. You can see again, another order block, 17% of the volume kicked in. And I'm expecting this to push price at the very least into what happens to also be the mid-range. Next order block comes in over here at exactly, let's just give you that price level, 26,459. So basically, I'm looking for a push up into this area. Maybe it could deviate a little bit higher than that zone. And then I'm looking for the next leg down. This is my short-term game plan. So taking longs, you could take longs over here. This is ultimately what the trade setup would look like. Let's just grab a long tool. You'd be looking at something like this. If you can get filled anywhere around here again, great. And you're looking for a move into there, and your stop is going below the wick that we had set over there. If price comes below that wick on the 11th of June, what was set in yesterday, then obviously you're wrong on that position. So this is my short-term game plan. Big push up, rejection off there, and then likely comes back down to break lower. So keep that in mind. That's what I'm watching over there. Also, if you guys want, check out OKX. They do have a promotion at the moment where you can get up to $30,000 in sign-up bonuses. Very simple. What do you need to do? First, register for an account. You open up the first mystery box. Second, make a deposit of $50 or more. That opens up the second box, which is up to $10,000. And step 3, take trades. Take trades, and then you unlock the third box. Everything is in the description below. Smash the like button. It's my birthday. You can't not like the show for me on my birthday. That's all I ask. I will see you all on the next one. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and cheers for now.